and you know
You
what?
did.
That's brain mapping.
Good job.
That's
Excellent.
neuro treatments. Yeah.
Excellent.
Sweet.
Excellent.
So a little rundown for the call. I saw that Noelle La Liberté put up a kind of an inspirational post there a minute ago. So I thought we could maybe open with a little inspirational post and then go to Diane maybe, and then close with Kara Halsey's story of being really scared to get in front of people and it led places, which was really good for her.
Excellent.
And she's one of the ones putting on the event tonight.
So for people who are watching the recording of this is Girl Talk, and Lori Dawson and I host this call for the women of Vox Life. And one of the focuses we have now is women's health. We're bringing in different practitioners who are also a part of our Vox Life team to share their experiences in the hopes of helping other women and their families, of course. So Lori, why don't you take it away? Tell us how you want to open the call today.
Well, I'd love to open the conversation by thanking Noelle La Liberté from the Chicago area, because I think we have to understand sometimes that it's not all glamour, right? So I'm going to have to move. Actually, I'll do it on my phone. She put up a post this morning about, the trials and tribs of being kind of on the ground floor of something. And boy, can I ever relate to that. So I just have to find it. No, if I can go, tell me what happens when I do this. Do you see me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So I can go to another open tab and you can still see me. Okay. So here, let me get out of there. Here's what Noelle had to say. I'm just getting messages about my iPost in Messenger.
Very nice.
Which is nice. So let me close out of there, close out of there. Okay, I love this. She says, being among the first few waves of this company can be tough. We can all have hard days, but we always need to hang on to the truth, this truth. And here's the link that she posted and what it says. She says, often it's just what I need to hear. It's this. Cool, huh? Being among the very first to get what's going on, to sense the promise, dare the dream, feel the power, tempt the fear.
No, I weighed myself this morning. I was up 3 pounds, so I just. So
rise above and be a light to the
billion. Get back on my 1 minute.
I'm just muting everybody. Go ahead.
Did you get that, girls?
Read it one more time, Lori.
We missed the end part.
Yeah, I'm going to read it again because it's really worth it.
Yeah.
Noelle says, being among the first few waves of this company can be tough. We can have hard days. But we always need to hang on to this truth. Joys of being outside. Often this is just what I need to hear from this particular website she's talking about. So here it is. Cool, huh? Being among the very first to get what's going on, to sense the promise, dare the dream, feel the power, tempt the fear, know the truth, rise above and be a light to billions who will follow. Except, of course, it's sometimes lonely. I know that. We all know that, don't we?
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Share that on your wall, Lori. Please.
Yeah, I definitely will have to. Noelle is just an absolute gem.
Mm-hmm.
And she connected with some MMA people, over the last week or so. So I love these girls who get into the ring, so to speak. It's so great.
It's so great.
So yeah, I did want to share that little tidbit. And now I really want to hear from Diane. And Diane's got...
Go ahead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how Diane came to be on this call?
Well, our personal story just supports this notion that this business can happen organically. And so my husband Glenn claimed to have had ADHD. And I'll tell you how bad it is. He's working on it. But if I told him that I was making chicken for supper and I found no chicken in the freezer and switched her up to fish, he would not eat. He would get home, find that we weren't having chicken, and tell me he's just going to have cereal. And I just thought, wow, how come you can't flex with me? You know, I just didn't have time to go buy chicken. So anyways, I just thought, is he being hard to get along with, or what is going on with this ADHD thing? I don't know. Anyway, saw a advertisement that Diane was putting on a presentation at a local public library. And so I thought, I'm at least going to do Glenn the respect and courtesy of finding out what I don't know about ADHD. So I went to hear Diane, and I was thoroughly impressed, and this makes me teary. I can honestly credit her for improving mine and Glenn's dynamic on the home front. She validated what he had been telling me and explained that it wasn't necessarily a choice. Glenn used to say, "You don't know what you do to my brain when you shift like this." And I just thought that was dramatic, you know? So Diane really did open my eyes to some things, and I'm very grateful to her for having done so. And, you know, time went on, never connected with Diane again necessarily, but we had a social in town at the beginning of the summer for people of Vox Life to just touch base and connect and love on each other. And Diane came, and Diane is a good friend to Bezic Chance, who is in Jen Moyer's downline. And I had an opportunity to tell her what she had done for me in putting on that presentation. Well, she was so moved, and we just clicked. And so that's essentially how Diane and I got to talking. And I was impressed with her presentation. She's an ADHD coach. She's a social services worker. She's a teacher, and she's my friend. And I'm really excited for her to share, because we've undertaken a little ADHD initiative, and when the time is right, we'll share what that is. But a lot of people are super excited about that. And it was news to me that adults struggle with ADHD. And so recently, Diane has linked me up to ADHD Summit, and I've learned an absolute ton. And I plan to learn a whole lot more, because I think it's a wonderful way to serve that community and others similar to that. The whole brain thing with me, you know, having had issues myself, is a whole new world of excitement and opportunity to help people. So with that, Diane, you're on.
Okay, so first I'd like to say thank you for that. And yes, I was very moved. I'm still moved as I hear you talk about it, because I often think I'm just this little person, like from Sudbury, Ontario, just doing something on my little piece of the planet. And then, you know, you realize that you impact people in such a big way. And it still boggles my mind. Like, it just gets me all emotional. So thank you for that. But I'd also like to say, and I think everybody here could agree with me, that you, Laurie, are like the master encourager, optimistic, great at loving on people. And I thank you for that.
My extreme honor and pleasure to do that. Yeah. Wow. The people we have in this group just wow me.
So now I have to wipe my face. Excuse me. Okay. So one thing I wanted to first of all start by just giving a few facts about ADHD, because a lot of people go misdiagnosed. They wonder what happened all their life, that they didn't fit in, or they couldn't get their life together, or they couldn't do the same as other people, or because we know everybody I meet with ADHD, whether they're 5 years old, whether they're 80 years old, they know that there's something different about them. They know they couldn't just fit in everywhere. There's places where it's been hard, you know? So I just want to give a few facts about ADHD, okay? So often people with ADHD have average or above average intelligence. They have a knowledge of being different. They're very creative. They live in extremes. So a lot of all or nothing, black and white. They have a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative self-thoughts, doubt, you know, things coming up, because through years of life being told, you know, try harder, you're not focusing, are you lazy, like what's wrong with you, like that stays in our head, and it just grows throughout our life. So a lot of negative thinking, often socially awkward, can be passive, and this would be poor boundaries, you know, letting people in too close that you don't really know that can take advantage of you, or even just like telling people all your stuff and not knowing when to stop, when it's good or it's safe or not. Struggle with making decisions is a huge one. Many traffic violations. The hyperactivity as you get older changes. So one of the things that happens often is a lot of traffic violations or accidents. It's much higher in the ADHD community. Okay. Often underemployed, can't figure out what to do with careers. You know, changing jobs a lot, moving often. I've moved 33 times. I've changed jobs almost as many times. Strong need to find purpose. That's a huge foundation. Strong need. If we don't feel purposeful, often those negative thoughts take us over and lead to suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts. Often can't focus, get bored when things don't interest them, try to listen to people, even in business meetings, stuff like that, bored and then drifting off. The key to it is having fun, because fun is power. So fun, fun, fun. And therefore, people think we're immature, irresponsible, because we're always thinking of having fun. Talk excessively or rarely, again, extremes. Some people with ADHD, it affects a certain part of their brain where they have a hard, they know this stuff up here, but they can't seem to get it out so that people can understand what they're talking about. Highly intuitive. If they get to learn who they often are highly intuitive, even empathic. Sensitive emotionally, physically, and it goes one way or the other. Either you're hypersensitive sometimes to medication, to how your clothes feel, to your feelings everywhere, or you're really not very sensitive and people think that you're harsh or you don't care. And really it's just because you just don't feel it, you know, or you don't see things like other people. Often have sleep problems, can't shut off their brain, difficulty starting or finishing things, consistency is difficult, motivation is hard, and may also have tons of things with ADHD like anxiety, addictions, depression, suicidal thoughts, mental illness, and learning disabilities. So it comes with a slew of things, and there are no two brains with ADHD that are exactly the same, because what happens is it's about neurotransmitters in the brain. Two things are happening. You have these neurotransmitters that give you a feel-good feeling, like it makes you happy, it excites you, and that's dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, to name the more common ones. And in ADHD, we're going to talk mostly about dopamine because this is where there's a problem. The dopamine is not getting to the frontal lobe where your executive functions are. And I know some people may not know what executive functions are, and I don't have time in 15 minutes to tell you, but you can go to my website and check out some of my videos because I think I talk about it there. But that's your part of the brain that does organizing, prioritizing, memory. So short-term memory, leaving your stuff everywhere, huge one. Also stuff like impulse control, motivation, consistency, like a lot of the things that I talked about, that has to do with your executive functions. Okay, so just so you have an idea. So we don't have the dopamine going to the executive functions properly, or it's not getting to certain ones. And so those centers are not waking up and doing their job. So we're kind of working with a malfunctioning brain all day long, 24/7. That's really the easiest way to explain it to you. So just imagine that if you have this, and you know, in our brain, the other part of it is that we don't have a filter. Now, what does the brain filter do? A lot of people say, I didn't even know the brain had a filter. Everything seems to have a filter. So the filter in the brain does a lot of things like helping executive functions. But one of the big things it does is it creates like a barrier around the brain, and it stops overstimulation. So, you know, when you are doing your thing and you're starting to feel tired and everything's shutting down, you know, it's time to go to bed, and you go to bed and you feel great in the morning and you start over. You know, that's your filter. Your filter was letting you know that's enough, no more stimulation, you need to go to bed. But when you push through that, let's say you have a wedding or it's Christmas and you push through that and you're staying awake longer than that period, that sleep period, you often, and people often say, I feel wired. Oh my goodness, I've been up like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm like crazy now. I'm doing silly things because I'm not really thinking great. I'm wired. Well, people with ADHD are like that all the time. So just, if you could just have some compassion to understand that all day we're expected to do the same routine as everyone else, you know, go to work, fix our house, do the laundry, take care of the kids, cook, like do all the rest of the stuff. And we've got this constantly going on. It kind of looks like this. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like this is the ADHD tornado, and it describes what goes on in our brain all the time really well. Barbara Luther did this. She was one of the people involved in the course took at ADCA in ADHD certification. But so if you can imagine going around with that kind of tornado with a lot of negativity in it, and knowing you're not really meeting everybody's expectations, and you know, you're trying to follow everything that you're supposed to follow, it's normal that we would at some point get overwhelmed or kind of fall apart, or just say, I can't do this, and quit a job like on the spot, you know? And that's a lot of what happens when you have ADHD. So when you're talking to people with ADHD, be compassionate. Realize they may, if you're boring, I'm going to be honest with you, they may be looking everywhere else, or you may notice they've zoned out, there's nothing behind their eyes. You need to change it up. Change the rooms, go to another area, take a walk. That's the best way to talk to people with ADHD, is go out for a walk. Go for a walk with them. Don't make them sit there and do nothing, because we often need to burn off our energy. We need to be doing something in order to think better, okay? The other thing is, if you have somebody who's inattentive, because there's 3 types. There's hyperactivity, hyperactive, inattentive, and then there's the combined. So if you have an inattentive, they're gonna seem to be okay. They don't need to go out walking or do physical activity, but they're not there. There's so much hyperactivity and stories and all kinds of an imaginary world going on in their brain that's way more interesting than what you have to tell them if you're gonna talk too long. So I just wanted you to know that, okay? They're not being rude. Their brain, typically our brain, okay, will shut down if it doesn't get stimulation and if it's not interested there. And the more we try to focus on that, the more it'll shut down. So it's not our fault, it's neurological, not behavioral, neurological. So that being said, it's been a challenge, but you know what? If you read my little blurb, you know that life is great. All kinds of great things go on, and the only sure thing in life is being born and dying, and everything in between is for sure challenges. So if you can learn how to manage challenges, you're going to have a great life, because how you manage each challenge that comes in your life is what determines where you're going to go and how you're going to do it. So I noted here a few things that have been crucial for me, because I've overcome a lot of stuff. And I'm not going to bore you with that. You have a little bit in my blurb, and you can check that out another time. But, you know, one thing that really helped me through is an attitude of gratitude. Every day I wake up and I'm talking about gratitude, and all throughout the day I'm looking for reasons why I'm grateful. There are always tons. And one of my highlights, everybody who knows me knows this, indoor plumbing. I am so grateful that we can just go to the bathroom here in the middle of the night and anything. We can have a shower. We have running water in our house. That's phenomenal, because my mom grew up where there was no indoor plumbing, and her stories were quite interesting. You know, the other thing I'm always grateful for is that I'm able to speak, to walk, to talk, to have, you know, a great life. There are people who don't have legs, people who don't have, you know, a voice. So like, there's always things to be grateful for. Even in the darkest hours, you can find it. And I always say, like, if you think about life like this, there's always things that you could be looking at that are going to lead you to the negative. And then there's always the road to the positive. You have to look at both realistically and decide which one are you going to follow. So I wanted to leave you with something to work on today. First of all, just think about this. I'm going to ask you a question. I just want you to think about it for about 30 seconds, okay? How do you make decisions? Okay, so if you're thinking of how you make decisions, I mean, I've heard a lot of things, but I want to ask you, do you ask other people what they think of your decisions? You know, do you follow people's advice? Do you like getting advice? Because I'm going to tell you that those are the things that almost killed me, the things that led me to making really bad decisions. And since I've been a teenager, you know, you take those career tests when you're graduating from college, high school, I mean, I've always been told that I should be a therapist or a psychiatrist or some kind of thing like that. And I always said, no way. I have such a hard time figuring out my own life. There's no way that I'm going to be telling people how to live theirs and mess up their life too. However, as you see, the universe had a bigger plan than I ever imagined and has brought me here to this place where I am not just a therapist, but I'm also a coach. And the first thing in both courses that I took that they tell you is never give advice. So anybody who offers you advice, just know that they mean well, but they are probably not very healthy because they have not realized that everybody's journey is different. So what they may be telling you may have worked for them, but it will probably not work for you, or not in the same way it worked for them. So stay away from giving people advice and from looking for people's advice. Instead, you can word it like, what do you think of this? Because I would like to see what you would do with it. I'm thinking of doing this, and I want a different opinion. So you can look at things that way, but never think of yourself as not being good enough to take your own advice, because that's the only advice you really can take, is your own. So what leads to people looking outwardly for people to help them make decisions is often self-doubt, lack of confidence in yourself, or other people telling you that you're not making good decisions. And maybe you've had a long track record like me of making really bad decisions, you know? And now you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm a horrible decision maker, so I need to ask people what they should do or what I should do. I need to follow this person or follow that person. And I want to tell you today, and this is the one thing I thought, okay, at least I want to give you this, okay? I'm going to give you a sure way of knowing how to make a great decision for yourself and feeling good about it, okay? Yeah, it's going to take a lot of practice. It doesn't happen overnight. But the more you use it and practice, the more you're going to get comfortable with who you are and making the right decisions for yourself. And that's really the key. It's not just making the right decision, but making the right decision for yourself, okay? Because there can be two people, same accountant, and the accountant works their taxes so that they get the most money back. And may have to twist the truth a little bit. One client will be thrilled and the other client won't sleep for nights because he's going to be worried about getting, tax people coming to examine his taxes. So why? Because one has a high value for honesty and the other one isn't that specific about it. It's like, I'm generally honest, this is no big deal. So I want you to really get this. It's not about right and wrong. Your friend may decide to have an open marriage and you may decide that that's horrible, but never voice that to your friend, because it just means for you that doesn't work, for them that works. We're not all the same. And being a therapist, you have to open yourself up to lots and lots and lots and lots of varieties of people. And I have never seen two people who have exactly the same beliefs or values. So just note that everybody is okay. There's no right and wrong. And when you're in business, if you don't have that attitude and you're judging people or you're taking things personally is the worst thing in the world. That person is going through something. They're coming to you to buy socks or patches because they need help with their health. They're not coming to you so that you can feel good. Okay, they're not. People don't come to me so that I can feel good. Their life is falling apart. They come to me because they want to feel good. So you are there to provide the best customer service and a solution to their problem, period. Everything else about you doesn't matter. It's all about them. So don't take things personally. If they're late at pay you, or if they're not calling you back or whatever, they have a life going on and they're having their own stuff and it has nothing to do with you. So don't take it personally. just be fine. Next time you see us, I haven't heard from you in a while. You okay? I check with people like that. I'll call them, leave a message. Haven't heard from you in 4 days, and I'm just wondering if everything's okay. You know, like, show them you care, because, you know, people say this a lot. People don't know how much you care until you show that you care. Or is that right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. There, that's right. Well, a lot of people say that, but they don't do it. I know, because I've joined a lot of groups, or I've gone to things, or I've bought into programs where people say this all the time, but they never showed me they cared, and their program didn't work, and I wasted money. So don't be that kind of businesswoman, okay? You can do better than that. So what I want to show you about making a decision today is really crucial. It seems simple, but it's really crucial. So first of all, you have something coming up for you. You want to think, what am I thinking about this? And really get clear on your thought. Write it down if you have to. Jot down all the thoughts that are coming to you, and circle the one that is the main thought. Because what you are thinking is the most important thing for you. What other people think is who cares, right? It's what you think about you that's most important. So let's say somebody comes at you and they're frustrated because their socks aren't working, you know, and they're calling you and they're like, hey, I've been wearing these socks day and night for like 3 weeks and I haven't noticed any difference. You know, it's a piece of junk. Well, you have choices here. You can either go like, well, how dare you say that, blah, 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 and take it personally. Or you can say to the person, well, you know what? I'm really sorry. Compassion. Again, compassion, compassion, compassion. I'm really sorry that you're not experiencing anything. Like, could we meet about it? If you can meet in person with that person, best thing ever. If not, ask them questions. So, well, what are you experiencing? What were you expecting? You know, talk to them, have a conversation, and be really good with them. Like, you know, and say to them, well, I'm really sorry it's not working. The research has showed that, you know, people who wear them at least 8 months get the best results. We've just, you know, spent $4.5 million on research. We had a big conference, and all of the researchers, the doctors and the researchers explained to us the different areas of the brain it affects. They've done brain mapping, like before and after the socks, and at different times, and at 8 months seems to be the best. Do you think you could keep wearing them up to 8 months? Because there you will see a difference. You could also say to them, you know, well, take them off for a couple of days and see if you really don't notice a difference, because sometimes people haven't realized the changes until they take the socks off. Like, try different things with them. There's always a solution, and this is the biggest thing. Look for solutions. Don't stay in the problem. Keep the problem very small. Don't expand it. Just stick to a solution. Look for solutions. If you don't have any, ask the client, well, what do you think we could do about this? That's it. The other thing is, once you know what you're thinking, you have to check your feelings. So if this client is coming at you, you're thinking like the nerve of him, and you're feeling a rise. There's a rise coming up to you. You're feeling angry, or you're feeling insulted, or whatever you're feeling. That's not about your client. That's about you. You have work to do. Why is his opinion impacting you that way? Right? So here's what I tell people. I see couples a lot. So you need to say to that person, right? They're bringing something up in you. Wow, thank you. You're saying that has brought all of these emotions up to me. I need to call you back, because I'm going to go figure out what these emotions are and how I can handle them. And it's really important. So I will call you back tomorrow. Because really, when somebody brings up your feelings like that, it's not about them. They've triggered something that's been in you for a long time. They're just bringing it to the surface. So what you want to do with that is go explore it. So why am I feeling so upset about a client who's not enjoying his socks? Like, really, that's all it is. And, you know, he's a client. He doesn't know about the socks. He doesn't know about the brain. He doesn't know about the research. We're just a bank of information. Okay. And if our information is really good and we're really kind and compassionate to the people that we work with, they're going to want to keep coming back. So the other thing you want to check is, now you know what you're thinking, you know what you're feeling. Do they match? Do your thoughts and your feelings match? Because you can be thinking, oh, wow, like he's not enjoying the socks. That's too bad. But then, you know, you do have something rising and you're going, why am I feeling so upset about this? Or you blurt out something you didn't mean to blur out. then you got to go explore that, because generally you want your thoughts and your feelings to match, and they have to match whatever action you take. And it's called alignment. If you are not aligned with who you are, then you should not be making a decision at that time. Go align yourself. And that's what alignment is about. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What do I want to do about it? Or what have I done that I might want to change? Okay, because you have to be aligned. And what are you aligning yourself with? Really with who you are, your values, your belief system. So you need to do a little bit of work. I would recommend that you do a little bit of work on yourself and go sit down with yourself in a quiet time, maybe take an hour every day for a little while and think about who you are. You know, what are your values? There's tons of stuff on Google. If you don't know what values are, they've got lists. I just put lists of values and it'll bring tons up. And just circle the ones that you believe you have. And then, you know, belief systems, same thing. You can look that up on Google. But I like to think of a belief system. You either have a positive one or a negative one. If it's negative, change it. You know, we talked about that at the conference. You have the power to change it. I have programs that help people change their mindset, and it works. It took me almost 3 years to get all the negativity out of my own brain, because I had tons of years worth of putting it in there. So you have to do the work. And it was daily work. Not tons, 30 minutes a day, every single day for me to change my life and have an amazing, amazing life. So you can do it, 30 minutes a day. Surely you're worth that. And really, that's what you need to be thinking of. When you are sitting there going, I don't feel like doing these, I don't feel like doing my affirmation, I don't feel like working on this, you are disrespecting yourself. You're not hurting anybody else but yourself. You're disrespecting yourself. You're not helping your clients at all by being that way, and you're never going to get anywhere. So if you want to get somewhere, you need to do the work. You know, surely you can find 30 minutes a day to do some things to make you feel great, to change a negative mindset to a positive one, to be the best businesswoman you want to be. It'll impact your whole life. You know, so I leave you with that. I know it's kind of quick, and I'm giving you the very basics here. But I didn't want to go over too much, and I don't even have a clock here, so I might have gone over. I'm sorry if I did. But I hope that that helps you, because we are all meant to be rich in soul, in friendships, in love, in life. And I don't mean rich like in billions of dollars, but I mean rich, feeling great, feeling amazing, feeling wanted, feeling important, feeling that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's something in us that other people need and we need to share, because purpose, again, is important, you know. And if you have ADHD, it's even more important. I think that the more struggles you go through, it's because the bigger your mission. My mission is to make the world more ADHD friendly, one presentation at a time. And it matches perfectly with Jay's presentation to help 1 billion people, you know, improve their health, because I also want to help improve health. So I thank you very much for having me here today. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. I don't know if we have time for questions, but thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so awesome. Oh my goodness, so much value in that for so many people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think maybe can people message you on your Facebook work page, the ADH Learning Center Facebook page with questions, just to keep us in the time frame? Okay, so if you go on Facebook and search ADHD Learning Center, you will see the Learning Center pop up, and you can pop in there on Messenger and ask your questions, because I'm sure there will be many. That was such a great presentation.
And please like my page.
Yeah, exactly. Like it and use it as a tool, right? Like, if not for you and your family, that you will come into contact with people that will find this presentation very, very, very useful. My mind was thinking about people the whole time you were talking that I'd like to share this with. So thank you so much, Lori. Great idea. You're right. That's right in line with what we're doing.
Absolutely brilliant. Such practical, hands-on, like tools and ways to think. Like mindset, we have said so many times, is absolutely everything. And you know, Diane doesn't speak from book knowledge, albeit she does have credentials in that area, but her own life is testimony to what she's had to say today. And we are not going to leave it at a single Zoom call, ladies. We are going to tackle some of these challenges in other ways, in the form of opportunity events and that sort of thing. So put your thinking caps on as to who in your circle of influence you may be able to provide this information to, so that we can, you know, get them started with a more balanced brainstem and see where that takes them. But definitely, I appreciated what Diane said about, you know, how to handle people that are negative around the impact of the sock. So many people, we live in a fast food society and they want instant gratification. So we have to give them a realistic start with realistic expectations. And a little bit of a shout out for the London event too, for those of you who have people that are in the London area. There's an event tonight, and it's on Rectory, and it's a Vox Life information night, and we're going to start planting the seeds for the next ones, and hopefully you've got your wheels turning about how you can further the mission, ladies. Thank you for being on the call.
Yeah. Did you want to share what Kara shared with you?
I can, and I love that Kara and I met at the, well, actually a little bit before, but Kara is such a beautiful heart, and she's involved in sponsoring, or sorry, putting on this event in London tonight. And we had a little exchange because Kara asked me to tell my story with Vox Life at the event. And it's basically, you know, the beginnings, the germination of Vox Life as a network marketing business. And so she thanked me for being willing to do that. And I said to her, Kara, you have no idea how deep I have to dig to do this and get in front of people. And she said she, you know, she feels the same way, but recently she sent me a comment that was along the lines of like, Lori, you inspire me. I learned from you. And I was able to push myself to get in front of the Rotary Club in London, completely stepping out of her comfort zone and sharing formally with a PowerPoint. So there she met the acting president of a quarter auction, and it led her to the quarter auction, and it was just kind of basically a domino effect. She was just happy that she pushed herself so that one thing led to another, and now they have an upcoming golf tournament and they want her to present at that. She was able to play the Chip McDaniel golf video. So ladies, we started out saying that things happen organically, but they don't happen at all if you don't get your, you know, self in the game, so to speak. So I just commend Kara for sharing and pushing herself to be courageous. And I think that that's a good note to leave things on, is just be courageous and be compassionate.
And know there's a ripple effect to your courage.
Absolutely, that's fact.
I think you and Diane are a perfect example of that, right? She didn't even know how much she impacted your life, and yet.
Absolutely. And we opened our conversation, Krista, with how many people you've helped this week with a first touch, and who knows where that's going to take us. And yeah, you know, being on the ground floor is where all the heavy lifting gets done, but that's okay. Like, it keeps us in shape.
It does. It definitely
Yeah.
does. It definitely
Yeah.
does. To be mindful of time, I'm going to say that we are closing this call, but if people want to stay on and chat, we do have the line open for another 15 minutes or so. So if you came in just for the short part, thank you so much. And thank you for Diane for her presentation. And if people want to tell us, I'd love to hear some highlights from the associates that are on this call of your week, you know, who you helped, and just raise your hand if you want to comment. You can click on Manage Participants at the bottom of your screen, and then there's a button that says Raise Your Hands. I think it just says Participants on your line. It says Raise Your Hand, and then I'll be able to see you and unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. One thing that I would, go ahead.
Come on, people. We've done enough talking.
Yeah. Yeah, were you, hand, Nancy, I see you incoming.
Yeah, I did it.
Go. Okay, good.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. So great to see you.
Good to see you guys too. I missed the beginning part of the call. I'm sorry. I was going crazy trying all these links. I didn't get there, but I will listen to the recording for sure. I was just going to say one thing though that stood out to me. I recently just went to a 2-day training on sales, and when she was saying ask questions, that was actually something that came up, as how to deal with objections in a way that actually encourages more conversation and relationship building with the person that is objecting. Because again, we all know that in 5 years from now, people are going to look at Vox Life very differently as a result of just its exposure in the media, I believe. So just because they're a no today and they might give up today doesn't mean they're a no forever. And that was exactly what they taught us for the objection, was what she said. So I actually wrote down the things she said, because we were challenged to come up with ways to ask what questions or how questions, and those were fantastic questions. So I'm thankful for having jumped on and heard that for sure, because I wrote down the one she said. She said, what are you experiencing, or what were you expecting, or what do you think we could do about this? So those were great. I didn't have those on my list when I did them the other day, but it was quite the activity to have. They put us in groups and they made us give somebody a cue card with our objections. So I gave you 5 cue cards with my objections that people give to me, and then you would present them to me, and I had to like respond immediately with a, thank you for sharing that. What were you expecting to happen? And then the conversation gets built and you have an opportunity to talk. And the purpose that they were saying is to get to what's really underlying for these people, because they could say, well, I can't afford it. And the truth is they can, but there's something underlying that's keeping them from wanting to afford it. And what is that? So when you ask that what question, that how question, you get them talking, you've actually discovered the real reason, right? Well, we just bought whatever and it didn't work. And, so just to uncover. So I thought that was really awesome. And my week this week was, I've been helping teammates mostly this week, and connecting with them. And I did a sock and soul party last night with one of my new team members. That's her third. So the first one, she wasn't ready to launch the business. The second one, she launched her business at, and I did most of the presenting. And last night she presented most of it. And I just sat and watched and felt proud and excited to see, yet another person ready to take on this journey and do it. So I think she's ready to be on her own. So I think I'll go next time and just be a guest in the audience. just for fun.
Yeah, and to give her backup, right? So she feels secure, and yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, which is what I want to do for her, right? I want her to feel really great about being out there and doing this. But I was listening to her last night. She did fantastic. So it was pretty exciting.
You're a great
And
leader.
what's so special about that is to see the growth. Yes, we're helping people. Yes, we're getting tech on people, but to actually see people come into their own, their stride, and start to be, proud of who they are. I mean, that's the bigger gift, I think,
that we get to give.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was life-changing for me for sure, and actually it still continues to change my life. I've constantly challenging myself with self-development, even the stuff when she was saying about the positive, that's something I'm always challenging myself. Definitely when she says, like, we have years of programming to think negatively, years, and it comes from so many areas and sources, the news, the people in your life that are closest to you, messages that you get in advertising and stuff. It's not always, it's so easy to go to that negative space. So this has definitely grown me, and bringing people on and seeing them get to have that same experience I had, and feeling like, wow, this is really affecting my life in a great way, more than just I helped somebody with a pair of socks. Like, I've made friends, I've made connections, I'm growing personally, I'm growing spiritually, I'm growing in so many ways. And it's just, I love this company. Best thing I've ever done in my life.
It's almost about the journey more than the destination, isn't it?
100%. 100%.
And it brought all
That's
of us
my
together.
share.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Denise, are you out there? Denise, can you unmute yourself? I'm going to unmute you. Here I come.
Oh, sorry, I am here.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
Good, good. You guys are all
Good.
so well spoken. Makes me nervous.
You're fine.
Don't
You're
be
more
silly.
than fine.
I think that I feel like that's where a little bit of I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but sometimes I really think I do have ADHD, because just to even keeping on track for what I want to say it's kind of hard to organize those thoughts. And I'm telling you, Vox Life, I've got like, it's a mystery how to keep myself organized with Vox Life. I don't know how anyone can become so disorganized so quickly. You know, with, all over the place.
I would say you're not alone there. Just so you know, you're
Nope.
not alone. Nancy and I talk about that all the time.
All the time.
Okay. You're not alone. How was your
Irony for me, ladies, is that my brain map showed that I have ADHD tendencies as well. So there I was with, you know, all my thoughts and sensitivities with my husband, and he's been dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
I think I do too, undiagnosed. My brother was diagnosed. So I think because he was a really high level ADHD, and it was very obvious that maybe I got missed. I don't know, but I oftentimes
girls
am
tend
very
to get,
scattered.
yeah,
Diane,
girls
what
tend
were
to
you
get missed anyway. They're,
I was going to say there's actually a gene for ADHD, so it is genetic.
So I could find out then, because I've always wondered, is this a thing for me? Because I really do have this like shiny, I call it shiny key syndrome. Like you're talking to me and all of a sudden I'm like in another place somewhere else. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, sorry, you're talking to me. Right. And I don't come by it like on purpose. It just constantly happens to me. And so I just, who knows?
You can go online and take a test.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward.
Tests, like if you go to CADDAC, CADDAC, ADHD, like put that in Google and you'll come to the CADDAC website. It's the Canadian Association of ADHD of Canada. And they have so much information, but they have a test there, a quiz you can take to see if you might have ADHD. Of course, they tell you that, you know, if this quiz makes you think you have it, go see your physician.
Okay, good to know. I'll try that.
Diane, what's that?
But then a lot of physicians don't really know a lot about ADHD, so you have to make sure you dig until you get the proper physician that really has done some studying in that area.
Yeah, I always tell people if you're struggling with ADHD issues, the diagnosis won't change it anyway.
No,
just deal with the issues, find solutions and management skills, and move on.
Yeah.
Great.
You
That's
lead the charge for us, Diane. You already are starting to do that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And Denise,
Yeah,
I just wanted to add, you said, you guys are so well spoken and that makes me nervous. I've been at an opportunity event with you. You're well spoken. Don't be trying to hide your gifts.
That's right.
Yeah. So having said that, I'm really looking forward to them actually doing more research with ADHD and Vox Life. You know, so that we can have something really solid to say about that. Because I'm always a little bit, like I say, you know, there's certain things I can say, like with focus and attention, but there's no like sort of definitive that helps with ADHD that we can actually say.
What I say to people who talk to me about ADHD and being with them or their kids is please try it.
Absolutely.
Try it and tell me, because what other parents have said is that there's noticeable change, and other teachers have said there's noticeable change. So please try it and you tell me. That's
I'd like those people to put more testimonials out there too, you know, because but and so many parents say, you know, oh, we tried everything.
Yeah,
it's a long, I mean, you know, Diane, it's a long story. I was a special ed teacher, so you know, there's more and more that we're learning about ADHD, but there's been all kinds of stigma about it, all kinds of stigma about the drug.
Well, we're working at CADDAC. We're working on getting in the school boards to at least acknowledge ADHD Awareness Month in October. You know, like I'm trying to get it at least at my school to celebrate at least the one day that's internationally known. But the issue is this, and I don't know if you know this, but in schools, in elementary and high school, ADHD is not considered a disorder, but in college and university, it is. And that's where the disconnect is. That's why they don't want to acknowledge it as a disorder in high school or in elementary school, because they're going to have to change everything.
And then they're going to have to come up with the resources to support the students.
Yeah, but I found, like, because I was a teacher in the elementary school for quite a long time, but I found the biggest hurdle, and I guess I was in a really inner city school too. So I found what the problem mostly was parents not understanding it.
No,
You know?
Parents, teachers, like there's a big lack of education.
Exactly. And so, you know, I'd have all kinds of meetings, like just to talk, and you know, social worker, the psychologist, and it would be really, really tough. And it's almost like, it was hard to see these kids suffer. Whoops. Sorry, I'm running out of battery. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
I got it plugged in. I don't know why I'm running out of battery. But
just while we still have everybody, here's our line of thinking, ladies. We know, and I know from personal experience, that ADHD is a real deal.
Mm-hmm.
So born out of my own personal experience came this idea to go and learn from Diane. And then with Diane's credentials and many of the credentials attached to people within the field, we want to reach the kids. We want to, and in order to reach the kids, we have to reach the parents. So again, an organic reach out from a neighbor of mine, I just originally asked her, you know, who's on the parent council at the school, and can we connect for a conversation? And then we have to provide real value to these parents for them to consider. And we also, you know, aren't suggesting for 1 minute that Vox Life is going to cure the situation. It is an augment or an assist to help these kids cope a little bit. It's an augment or an assist, very effective, mind you, based on what we know with the presentations from Dr. DeBrincat and Dr. Joe, is that we have something that can help, and we do understand this based on the professionals involved. So we would like to do an information session on brain health and make ADHD a feature, and have these professionals come up and speak and provide legitimate solutions for kids to cope better. And that's our vision. And so how we bring that into focus, we're open to suggestion, but our idea is to have Dr. DeBrincat and Dr. Joe do a 15-minute presentation, because they're connected and they're on the advisory board at Vox Life. So it legitimizes Vox. It legitimizes what's going on for these kids and these adults. And it provides them with value, like real valuable information. So that's our vision. Diane's on board. Some other Vox Life associates are on board, and we want to spread the word so we can have the attention of the people who really make the decisions, and that's the parents.
That'd be great to do a video. Yeah.
I think too, I hear a lot of parents who don't want their children on medication, and the children are suffering, like seriously suffering. I see them in school. And at least they could at least have this alternative to try socks. Like, who's not gonna, like, you know, and if the kid, and some kids won't wear socks, and buy the patch, do the insoles, like mix it up. But if they're not gonna try meds, and they're not even getting a coach to do management skills, then do something. Like, you can't just, it's like saying my kid has diabetes, I don't want them to take meds, and they're just gonna have to learn to live with it.
And if I could just share my brother's experience, hopefully he wouldn't mind me doing so, but I can tell you, you know, right or wrong, my mother made the decision to not put him on drugs. And so of course he struggled, because I don't think she had a management plan either. And he actually went through his entire school career in basic level education being told, constantly that he wasn't smart enough, wasn't smart enough. And I see now as an adult how that's impacted him in a way that's way bigger than you could have even imagined, right? And his lack of self-confidence and self-worth is huge. And he finally met his wife now that he's with, and she encouraged him to go to college because she went to college. And she said, I'll stand behind you. You can do this. You can do this. And so they did an assessment, which is what you were saying, like colleges do. Work with that kind of stuff. So he told them, I've been told my whole life I have a learning disability because I have ADHD. And so they did assess him, and they did find that that was valid, and they gave him the tools he needed, and he graduated with honors.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
he went through his whole school career feeling stupid, and like he literally would say, I can't do that. I have a learning disability, or I can't do that. It was constantly I can't. And so to see him go through, not only do it with the right supports, but graduate with honors, to see him glowing that way, to it's bigger than just dealing with the everyday thing. It's your whole life is affected by the stigma.
It's the social as well,
Yeah.
problems that happen socially. I see it in the classroom all the time with kids with ADHD. They just feel like, well, what? Why is everybody mad at me now?
They have no idea.
On that note, Diane, you've got to tell the girls what the first few months of your first few weeks of your classroom that you worked on.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's phone is ringing. Yeah, that was an experience. I quit teaching like more than 15 years ago. The politics and the paperwork overwhelmed me, and I just didn't want to do it. I love the kids, I love teaching, but I didn't want to do the paperwork. So anyway, so when I came back, when I moved to Southern Ontario to start my business, I needed an income, of course, and everybody said to me, well, they're short of, I'm French. So that's my ace in the box life in the ADHD world. So everybody said they need French teachers here, like they can't get enough. So I got into one of the boards in French, and I enjoyed supply teaching, and I didn't have paperwork or anything. You just show up, you do your job, you get paid well. It did the work for me. I took a long-term supply at one point, so I got all my, I got out of some of my debt and all that. And it was just, in prep time, and I was mostly teaching 3 gym classes.
What's happened? Hold on.
Oh, we lost her, maybe because her phone's dying.
No.
Listen, I'll finish the story for her.
There she is. You there? Diane, we lost you.
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
See me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Sorry. So what I was saying is, so this year I was called to come into this class, a grade 3 and 4 class, 22 students, because they couldn't find a teacher. It was October, and they'd already had 5 or 6 supply teachers, and it was a mess. And the principal said to me, I want you to come and teach. I need a good qualified teacher in that class. I said, well, I haven't been in the classroom in like over 15 years, and I've been in the schools though. I know things have changed. The curriculum is the same, but like the work is worse. And I said, I'm paperwork challenged. So I said, I have to think about it. But anyway, I ended up doing it. And she said, we'll give you help. We'll work that. Anyway, the first few weeks I was there, though, I had kids, like I found notes. I hate myself. I'm this, I'm that. I had children acting out. Like the self-esteem issue was horrible, just horrible. And I had 2 grade 4s on and off throughout the year who had suicidal thoughts. It scared me. I did not expect that. So, after a couple weeks, I went and said to her, you know what, like, I'm not getting anywhere. They don't trust me. They're tired. They think I'm leaving like everybody else. You have kids in there who are really negative, who think they're stupid. I said, I'm going to be doing social work for the next 2 months, and maybe then we'll get some academics done. I said, I'll follow the curriculum, but I'm going to do what I can. But I said, those kids need more acceptance and self-esteem than they need academics right now. Like, it won't get done. So she said,
Exactly.
okay, And that was really my thing. Like the first thing I implemented, you know, everybody gets those agendas and a lot of them rarely use them. So I said, you know what, we're going to use our agendas. In the morning when you come in, you're going to write down how you're feeling today. So they started talking about their feelings. Well, when I look at their agendas, I could tell how they were feeling and they were pretty honest. So it was quite interesting. And then I had them add, okay, you're going to tell me 3 things you're grateful for every morning. So now they were writing down how they feel when they come in and 3 things they're grateful for, because a lot of them were feeling negative thoughts. You know, and we added prayer in the morning. I'm in a Catholic school. So I thought, well, you know what? We're going to have prayer a couple of times a week. They can tell me what they're worried about, who they want to pray for. So I found out, like, you know, oh, dad broke his leg, or this person left, or somebody died, or these kids are having to go to the cancer center to see their grandpa every couple of days. Like, so how that's all impacting how they are in class. But I mean, I would have never known that if I hadn't taken the time to implement just a few simple things that I could do, right? And then it was almost 3 months before, well, I guess a little over 2 months, one day when, you know, somebody said to me, well, you know, like, you're going to just be leaving anyway. And I said, I have told you many times, I'm not leaving. I'm going to be here till the end of the year, even if we have a bad time. I'm not going to leave you guys. And that day, that girl who was always acting out and mouthing off and in trouble, like for the last years of her school life, she smiled at me and she hugged me and she said, okay. And then I saw a different side of her. And that one specific girl in grade 4 had a really bad reputation with the teachers, with the students, very negative, very much not afraid to act out, very disrespectful. And so I spent time with her. I would let her walk with me at recess. I would talk to her. I called her mom a few times. And she didn't come from a great place, doesn't come from a great place. Spends a lot of her time by herself trying to figure out stuff. And the more I watched her, the more I was convinced she had a learning disability. And so she kept, every time she couldn't figure out stuff, she would throw her books, throw her binder, really get upset, throw her pencils, swear, like, you know. And I looked at her one day and I said, you're not stupid. She said, well, why can't I get this? I said, because I think you just have a different brain. I think your brain doesn't read things the way that other people's brain read things. I think we need to get you special kind of help, but I just don't know what kind. And she looked at me and I said, I think you're brilliant. And she just looked at me. She said, no, everybody knows I'm stupid. And I said, well, I don't. Do you want to prove it to me? And that was a whole change for her. That created a different dynamic in class. And that girl joined the improv club after she started, because I would say to her, I said, why aren't you doing this? Look, this is going on. Try this, try this. So she went into the improv club. They made it all the way to the Ontario Championships and they came in first place. That boosted her confidence.
Wow.
She joined other things. She had friends in class. We had good discussions. Not perfect, you know, not perfect, but at least starting to understand that there's boundaries. She got special, she got on the list. So I tried to work with mom. She has Native status. I tried to work with Native organizations to get her evaluated right away so she'd be ready to go in September. But they're all, she'd have to pay and the parents didn't have the money. So they're going to have to wait till she comes up on the list from the schools, because, you know, the waiting lists are like sometimes 2-3 years long. It's not good.
You know
But
what,
yeah,
though,
it makes a
Diane?
difference.
It all starts with information. It all starts with stories, and these stories inspire, and we can, like you said, make a difference one presentation at a time. So let's
Yeah.
let that be our mantra for going.
And, you know, like I had a limitation because I was in the classroom, but when we're not in the classroom, we're not limited. We can go further and say, you know what? I know you also have anxiety, and talk to the parents and say, we have these, you know, would you be interested in learning a little bit more on a pair of socks that could help her with her anxiety?
Yeah.
You know, like that's simple. It can be just that extra sentence. Would you be willing to let me come over and chat with you about you know, something I discovered that really surprised me, that really helps kids with their focus, but mostly I think it's with the nervous system, right? So you're looking at anxiety,
Fighter.
not being able to pay attention and stuff like that. So you can use little things like that and say, would you mind, or would you be interested?
Would you come and hear? Would you come?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in coming to this place and learning about that? Because people, if they're asked the right way, often are willing to try that. That's simple.
And when I threw it out there, ladies, to a girl in Vox Life who is the manager of a daycare center, she said, I am your girl to promote this. She said, may I join your committee and help you, because I am part of all kinds of parent groups on Facebook, and I will promote this to my parents. It's just better to have it off site. So I think we could make a success out of doing an event like this, and then get some more buy-in from the parents to at least give it a try.
Yeah. So I'm just being mindful of time. I love this discussion, and I'm already thinking that we should have Diane back if she has time in the fall to have another conversation, because there's just, I mean, this, we're going overtime and there's still value in everything you're saying.
Thank you.
So it's, I think it's really important. I would really like to bring you back in September, because that's such a crucial time in a student's year, and where, changes can still be made and accommodations can be put in place. So if you're willing, we would love to invite you to come back in September. And in the meantime, I would ask call to action for the people on this call or watching the recording. Please reach out. I was on the school council for years, so I know that for us in our group, the thing that would be most effective would be a 15 to 20 minute presentation. That's all, because the monthly meetings are only an hour long. So a 15 to 20 minute presentation would be the best bet for us. So reach out to the people that that have school-age children, or that know people that have school-age children. I promise you, somewhere in your network there are school-age children. Reach out and start planting the seeds. Start asking the question, what would be most likely for your parent group to take a look at this? Would it be an on-site presentation? Do the parents at your school show up for such things? Would they come out for a half an hour or 45-minute presentation? Would they be more likely to watch a video presentation? Start to plant the seeds, first of all, that this is coming, and also give us some feedback on what the answers that you're getting, so that we know. Should we be planning, a road trip to hit a whole bunch of different communities, or should we be setting this professional video that we can share, and what does the length look like on that? So please reach out. This is your part, right? This is not the Lori and Krista show. This is our, we provide this platform, but it's for everybody to engage. So we're calling on you to take action and reach out in your communities. Find out how are parents best going to receive this information. How would they want to, what would they participate in? So will they participate in a phone call? Will they participate in a video that they can watch at their leisure? Will they participate in a video played in a meeting? Will they be more apt to attend an in-person event? Those are the things we want to know, and we want to hear from you what those responses are. So what I'll do is post in Women of Vox Life a post that you can then put in the comments, put your feedback, so we can get a good a barometer of where we should head with this. And it may be several different directions, which is totally fine, which I'm anticipating actually, which is great. But we just want to see what those different directions look like from your networks. So Diane.
Yes, because we don't want to keep it specifically to ADHD. I like what Diane had to say about anxiety and just focus, and it could even be kids in sports, because don't get so Passfield started on head injuries with kids in sports. So it's the gamut. It's just kids in general, and taking care of their brains properly, because we all know post-concussion is very high profile at the moment, and it doesn't have to be competitive sports. It can be a head hit on the playground too.
Yeah, so children's brain health is really what we're focusing on for this in-school initiative, or Connected to Parents initiative.
Especially with Wi-Fi, people.
Yeah.
I don't know if we go there, because the schools aren't going to ditch Wi-Fi, but
Right. Well, neither are parents. We have to be careful with that one, because neither are parents, right? It's in our home.
But we need to compensate for the use of
yes. Awareness and tools. tools. What are the tools? People, like most parents don't even know what the tools are. So,
Right.
So thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to close the call. Lori, as always, a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks, my love. All my loves. I'm so excited
I know.
with my tribe. My tribe within the tribe.
Exactly. It's a great group here, and always so great to see all of you. Just please make sure you are inviting the women of Vox Life that you meet along your way. I've met several women over the course of the summer who are Vox Life associates who didn't know about the Women of Vox group. So please make sure you're sharing with your teams, and stretch down if there's people that on your first or second line that are not necessarily using the business opportunity in this. Make sure you reach down past them to let the people know that they can be a part of this any which way. If they're connected to Vox, then they're a part of this. So we want them to be.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Enjoy your night.
Have a great day.
And don't forget your call to action.
Yes.
Thanks,
Exactly.
everybody.
Talk.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Diane.
Bye.